still having to talk about this issue. It is a basic human right.
Today, they truly don't give a shit about freedom.
Shut the up about our body!
I should be able to make decisions about my own body.
This bill is a medical sham.
Girls who have had abortions and will have abortions, we have nothing to be ashamed of.
I have seen the world where abortion is illegal. And we are not going back.
Men to not be stoic is going to create a breed of violent young men who have no emotional control, can't control their emotions, and act out on them. If you look at men who have no emotional control, because that's what they're trying to teach us to have. They're saying, listen, you're a man, you're allowed to just cry all the time and have no emotional control, no stoicism, react to your emotions. You know what happens when you tell men to just react to their emotions? Anger. You have school shootings, you have rape, you have violence. That's what happens when you tell men to have no emotional control.
Women in modern American society insist they must pursue gender equality. The wage gap and the prevalence of violence against women are frequently cited as examples of how women are treated unequally in society. This video makes the case that men are not always afforded the same opportunities as women in today's society. The focus here is on criminal court cases and investigations, as well as family law proceedings in which men are not given equal consideration. There was a time and a place for women's issues to take precedence, but it appears that the pendulum has swung too far, and as a result, our culture is losing compassion for men. The idea that men's basic human rights must be sacrificed to right the wrongs done to women is gaining traction in contemporary American culture. Alarming statistics about the prevalence of harassment and other forms of violence against women, supposedly at the hands of their oppressors, men, are constantly paraded before the public eye in modern American culture. Since there is only advocacy research focused on women's issues, there is a bias toward blaming men for any perceived slights against women. The majority of society's efforts are directed toward protecting women from violence and unfair treatment. Therefore, it erroneously dismisses or ignores the difficulties that modern American men face. Because of the widespread notion that men enjoy special privileges in the United States, our society as a whole displays a shocking dearth of sympathy when it comes to the plight of men in areas such as family law, criminal justice, and public opinion. Women today say they will not give up fighting for gender equality in the United States, even though the country is increasingly patriarchal. Stats showing that women are still disadvantaged in areas such as pay equity, political representation, family formation, and victimization by males are often cited as proof of the pervasiveness of patriarchal attitudes and practices. It is common practice for advocacy research to leave out positive statistics showing the tremendous progress that have been made, leading the public to believe that women in the United States are still being held back and abused. It is also common practice to cite statistics and immediately attribute them to oppression without investigating alternative explanations. It would be irresponsible of us, for instance, to ignore the possibility that the gender pay gap exists because men voluntarily enroll in science and technology fields while women preferentially choose social science careers. Despite feminists' claims that their work is done to promote understanding and equality, the reality is that, at this point in time, it only serves to pit men and women against each other. However, if we were to conduct research for all human rights, and not just the feminist agenda, we would find that men are not privileged and naturally oppressive, contrary to the claims of advocacy research that women are left wanting and men are the cause of our plights. Despite this theory of male advantage, studies will show there are situations in which men most definitely do not dominate. The gender pay gap is just one sign of a patriarchal society. The public's acceptance of the widespread belief that men are more likely to perpetrate violence within the family is a direct result of the efforts of women's rights advocates who push for the establishment and growth of women's shelters. Even though advocacy research has led to these generalizations about men, there is no reason to maintain women's rights as a priority in today's America. A women's rights movement is necessary for many developing nations, but not in the United States. Even though women have made great strides in America, advocacy research funded by women's rights groups serves only to reinforce stereotypes about men. it disregards the pain that men go through, especially in family law and criminal court cases, where the victim is a man. For the sake of our sons, brothers, and nephews who will grow up in America where males may become, if they are not already, the oppressed minority, we must address this tendency for broad generalizations and disregard for men's equal rights. To say that women have made great strides since the days when they were considered the property of men would be an understatement. Voting rights for women were not guaranteed until 1920, but today, women in every state in the Union make a point of going to the polls. Women now have equal access to higher education and can choose to study any field they like in universities across the United States, including traditionally male-dominated fields like engineering and science. Less than a century ago, when a man could divorce his wife at will, the children were automatically given to him as part of the divorce settlement. The general public at the time recognized that he was their only economic hope. Women can now initiate divorces that result in custody battles, and mothers are generally awarded primary residential custody of their children. Since women in the United States can legally work in any industry, men are no longer expected to shoulder the entire financial burden of supporting their families. Women have come a long way since the early days of the feminist movement, which fought for fundamental rights like the right to vote and the option to work and maintain custody of one's children after a divorce. When it sought equality, feminism was a noble and just idea, and it was only fair that women win their fight for equality in all spheres of life. It's important to remind people that focusing only on women's rights has led to their movements and a tendency to ignore information that focuses on men's problems. That's all for today, guys. If you found value in this video, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe buttons to get more dope content like this. Till next time.